beast of burden. Hello there, everyone. How are you doing? I love this time delay. It's weird, but hey, good to see you. Bosto to one and all. Favor, nothing missing, nothing broken be in our lives, and hey, hope you're having a heck of a good day. I know I am. It's hot and smoky outside, but it's summertime. And I don't know. I got a sense come this fall, we're going to look back and say, gee, I wish it was summer again. But that's just my perspective. So, how are y'all doing? Welcome, everyone. Thank you, moderators. Y'all are just doing the fabulous job. Hey, Robert V, David Castle, Stephen, and David Barry. Hey, Cheryl, how you doing? And Hillard, good to see you. Lori, what's up? David Barry, Kent Cook, good to see you. Kaylee, Lucky Stone, so good to see you. Always enjoy your videos, my friend. Troy and Subi, good to see you as well. So what's going on, folks? Yeah, it's I'm loving this. I got to tell you what, my mind is like much what Trina and I were talking. Wasn't that a good show? Got to go back and rewatch that if you didn't go. If you saw it, watch it again, and if you haven't seen it, go watch it. That was a good one. Sabrina, good to see you. Candy Apple, hello. Lynn, good to see you. John, hello. Bernadette, hey. Well, you know, it's hey, Spirit Girl, how you doing? So let's see. Take a Sleepwalker out. That's that's just, you know, literally just don't put him in timeout. Just yeah, that's just inappropriate. Um, that's a very low energy friend, and we wish favor upon you, and you manifest what you speak. Abracadabra, baby. That's all I got to say. And if you don't like your circumstances, well, then change them. You are the most powerful individual there is. You. So just speaking Bosto and you know, hey Debbie, what's up? Hi, wise April Fool. Good to see you from Texas. How the hell are you? Good to see you. Grew up, as y'all know, in Texas, the Montrose area, and then in Austin. Loved Austin. Yeah, I was in Austin at the right time. Yeah, that's pretty good. Have great memories of even Austin in the early 70s. But yeah. Hey, Nina the Mystic, how you doing, dear? Good to see you. Faith, hello. Gilbert, what's up? How are you doing? And hey, today is the green. Ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. It's a shooting star. Anyway, uh, so so much going on. Gotta tell you, hey Lori, what's up? Sarah, hello, Belanca, good to see you. So, Peter, what's up? I've really been going some places. My dreams were a kaleidoscope riding on the light spectrum of thought, and some things are beginning to make sense. And I've said this on the record here, that some of my earliest memories is that I can remember just being immersed into something. Now, for me, it was a blue green, very, very warm color. But it was all one single color. But I can remember just literally just closing my eyes and then being immersed in whatever it was. Still trying to figure out, but I think I got a clue. Uh, so, Debbie Bell, it's been a heck of a roller coaster ride. Oh yeah, it's a fact. Hey, Lost in Space. So much about what we have been talking, and I look back at the last 3 weeks daily broadcasts. And it's quite interesting, to be candid with you, to see where we are going. And like I said earlier, I was talking to David Barry's. Hello, Hummingbird. Good to see you. His comment. It's real interesting when you begin to look at what we consider to be reality, the micro. It's interesting. And my meditation time and everything that I am reading is all kind of leading to this place. Now, I don't know what we'll find in the place, but thus far it's been interesting as all get out. Because I think we're all on the same quest. I mean, what are you about? I was in deep meditation, and the thought, in fact, it was asked of me, what do you mean by calling yourself an individual? Where the heck did that come from? What do you mean when I call myself an individual? And I heard this responding thought coming back. Yes, define, what do you mean by individual? What are you an individual of? What are you an individual a part of or apart from? I began to ask myself, well, what do I mean when I say individual? What do you mean when you say you call yourself an individual? You say, hello, Suzanne, good to see you, hon. Alien believers, hello. When you speak of yourself, we all say that we're sovereign individuals. What does that mean? An individual is defined by what? How do you define individual? I mean, I know what Webster's dictionary says, but when we look at who we are, what we are, what an individual of what? David Barry says we're all part of the social memory complex. We are becoming able to tap into this. It's interesting. Hummingbird 8700 says, all I know is that I was up all night and I'm always awake in the full moon, but it was supposed to be the day before. They can look full the day after too. It's true. So, drink them if you got them. And let's check some things out. I think this is going to be really far out. I think you're going to enjoy it. I really enjoyed putting it together because these are almost like meditative sessions, you know, when you get into these at a certain point. So here's the question we'll start out with. How big is consciousness? How do you define individual? How do you define it in the sense of size? And does size determine intelligence? I mean, I've seen the comments, and I'm right there myself. You know, we know Cro-Magnon had a bigger cranium. Paleontologists will tell us that they were still less intelligent. And so it began to get to me that, well, all right, let's have an intellectual discussion. Does size determine intelligence? And then how do we define as to what is thought? I mean, if something is on the minuscule, does that say that it has diminished intelligence? It does not. Does it have the ability of thought? Can a virus experience emotions? Now, this came all out of my meditation session. I'll tell you from my point of view, because I answered myself on this question, yes. And this is how I know the question is yes. Because, brother and sister, you get a virus and it injects its DNA, you're going to feel its emotions. I'll guarantee it. So if you can feel its emotions, its effects, which affect you emotionally, why wouldn't it be able to feel that same emotion that you are generating? Unless you're saying a virus is not intelligent. And now this is when we have to begin to expand our inner thoughts. A virus. By the way, happy birthday to all of you who are having one. So the earth, every freaking second, is being bombarded by what we would call interstellar viruses, bacteria. It's a fact. Rains down on our planet continually. And it's amazing about this intelligence life. And today I am going to present to you, the audience, my thesis that we have been invaded. Now, whoever manufactured these bodies apparently didn't put in the fail-safe switch for when this intelligence, and folks, this is just one of probably trillions. These are highly developed, intelligent species. They travel intergalactically, live in regions of space that no human body could ever endure. They can. Now, it's only an ignorant man who would say, well, but Wayne, you truly are not saying that they would have cognition of thought, the ability to communicate as a collective hive mind. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's what we do. And we're about to find out today why we are such a barbaric race, because we're going to find that which is within rules that which is without. We're going to be talking about viruses. Now, viruses are interesting. If we had no viruses, we have no life. And then they're science, and we're going to prove this to you. But it can also kill you. Now, the interesting thing about viruses is that, well, they have a way of altering their reality, because they'll alter your reality real quick. You get sick. So again, we're still on the same premise of Homo sapiens are the gods that are worshiped today, only the gods of the Homo sapiens. Because it may be that the prior genesis of man may have somehow been immune to certain viruses, or the infection or the invasion probably started millions of years ago. And when we think about it, the smallest rules the largest. You get infected with influenza, the flu, a rhinovirus, the cold, common cold. And it's amazing how this life form can enter in to your life form and wreak havoc. Which has the more intelligence here? Again, does size determine intelligence? So this is a neuron. I've done past programs strictly dedicated to how they manipulated us. But this is what we all have. I mean, if it wasn't for this and the synaptic pathways, I mean, what freaking brilliance. This is architecture and engineering on a level man hasn't even, we can copy it, but we were in no way the originator of it. A neuron. Without it, we can't think. Without a neuron, reality doesn't exist. We have no way to interface with this plane of existence without something that none of us will ever actually see of our own. I mean, how many of us have seen our own guts? How many of you have ever seen your, any organ you want to talk, an internal organ, your brain? There is a technique where your eye can actually turn the back of your head and see it, but this is not here. So when you talk about a neuron, it's amazing. It forms its own electromagnetic field. It's a complex machine. Actually, it's life, if you want to be candid. But within it, it's a world none of us know anything about. But without it, this doesn't exist. Now, the question I pose to all of you is this sentient life? Take a look at this. Take a really good look at this. You can see so many things working. There's a rhythm here. There's a vibration, a frequency. You can see the eyes. You can see the brains. You can see the whole circulatory system of a single cell creature. Now, I ask you, is this sentient life? Because that has this as well as we do. The anatomy of the neuron, look at this. It's as an alien life form as you could get. But if you want to define individuality, this would be it. Look at the myelin. These are, when you get into this, it's so interesting. You get from the nucleus. Now, this is where they manipulated us. Now, either the life form was small enough and of such brilliance that traversing in a universe where they're building these monolithic structures, which we call a neuron. So small, we can't even see it with our naked eye. But if you look at the dendrite all the way to the axon, all the way to the axon terminal, it's where the thought is immediately identified by the neuron in the brain, and through the trillions of calculations, it boom, hits right at the terminal it's supposed to. But it's in here where they turned off our ability for our IQ. It's in here that they turned off the ability for us to be longer lived. It is also in here where they made us animals. I'll prove it to you. So within that neuron, you have the DNA replication, the DNA polymerase, you have the chromosomes, the RNA transcription, all the way going out there to the protein translation. It's an amazing, complex communication structure here. We're seeing right before our eyes multiple complex communication, forms of communication, data being transmitted and received, processed in this one small strand, a cell. We have over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different levels of communication. And the last is the one that then will become the universal translator. It will translate to every freaking part of what we call our bodies, the trillions of cells within us. There has to be a universal translator in there. We have many complex life forms within us that makes up us as an individual. Again, look at the genius, the complexity of structure, form, cause, effect, language. This is a language that we're not even conscious of, but yet we're speaking it, or at least it's being spoken within us. Every cell in our bodies, this organism, is a universe of universes of universes, of complex life forms. Now, my question is, are they sentient? Because when you see this, without this and without its perfect balance, you and I don't work right. And it's just not a single strand that's within us. There's trillions of these, all working at the same frequency, the same harmonic level. Complex life forms with singular purpose of mission, emissaries from different life forms communicating, building bridges. And not a word being spoken. The more we delve into it, the more we see, the more complex it becomes. Life forms upon life forms. And don't tell me a strand of DNA isn't a life form. They can replicate your ass, baby. Now, we never looked at this as us being the convergence, conglomeration, the meeting place, the congealing of billions of individual species, life forms, far more intelligent than we can ever be. For what they build, we're just now discovering. So this is God. Doubt me? I wouldn't. Look at the face. It's interesting because I kind of equate sentient with, well, expression. Now look at this creature. It's smarter than you and I are. Its ability to live far outstrips our comprehension of what immortality could be. Because the fact is, without God, nothing exists. Now let's talk about these life forms. You got the Paj head. This is a bacterial cell. And you can see here the T2 and the related phages use their tail pieces to attach to the host cell and inject their genetic material called the TEM. We do this when we have coitus with one another. The exchange of DNA. You know why we do it? Because they do it. We wouldn't have a clue if it wasn't for them. Now you look at that. Isn't that a penis going right in and injecting semen right into what we would call the ovaries? Now, my question to the audience is there communication and thought being transmitted here? I say yes, because what's taking over here is exactly what we do as a species. And here you see the virus injects its own genetic material into the host cell, and boom, baby, boom. Now, if that life form can travel uninhibited within our systems, then the question has to be asked, then where do thoughts originate? I've asked this question many times, and many of the great philosophers as well, is where does your thoughts originate? Where does your consciousness dwell? Is it your consciousness? You see, when a neuron is attacked, this is basically the beginning of the end. This is a virus invasion. This can make a person become very religious. It can make a person become very psychopathic. It can make a person become an egotist, and you just go on and on. Now, once it gets the code that allows it to bypass all the security systems, all the natural defenses, the forces that have been built, when this invasion begins, it can be catastrophic. Because what happens is that it's just not one single host. Once the invasion, the virus, the mind worm is injected into the host becomes its own incubator. Look at this. This happens to you and I. Now, this is a life form. It has the complete desire for immortality. Think about this. This is an actual live cancer cell. Watch, learn. Is thought being transmitted here? Is there a continuity of essence? You're telling me communication is not happening here? Let's take a look at here what happens when this intelligence invades. You see, if you don't think thought isn't being transmitted here, then what are you doing? Tell me exactly how are you speaking then? And when these attacks happen, you can see right here, they completely take over the host. They convert it. It's the Borg. We are literally, folks, dying 1,000 deaths each day. I could really probably put that each second. There are galactic wars taking place within us. Even if you're in the most optimum of health, understand there is life and death taking place. Life forms experiencing this changing. It's like being brainwashed. It's like getting into a religion where you become so much a zealot, you don't see anything but the religion. It is a brain virus, and you can see how the virus works. It comes in such a way that you can't stop it. None of us can. And when it begins to contaminate the synaptic pathways where thought really does reside, whose thoughts are you having now? Are you telling me you're having your individual thoughts? Really? So who is you? How do you define you? Tell me how you control this process. You weren't even aware that it took place. None of us were. Death is death, folks. Regardless if it's on the macro, death is death. Within our bodies are within the cycles that I think have been misplaced into the reincarnation. Because in a sense, our bodies are walking reincarnated cells, regenerating, being replaced. Death is death. How's this any different than a battlefield where humans are battling it out? You want to know where we learned to kill? It wasn't from no fallen angel. It was from God. This is God. And you're very close-minded if you think that this isn't God. God cannot exist if this does not exist. These are the masters of creation. Without them, nothing exists. Nothing. Look at what our bodies are in the complexity of the different life forms, which we call cells. We have cells that are cells, but they're very different type of cells. Look within the cells itself. Particularly, I always like the one in the kneecap. Look at it. Look at the matrix. Each cell has a matrix to it. Now, the virus is the master creator, for it can inject its own substance to alter any one of these. Amazing, isn't it? Because when you stand up and look at yourself as a whole, you are many, I can't count, I don't think there is a number of the different universes that are existing within you. You are God, for God is in you. Do you get it? Now, this is a cancer cell that's toying with what is about to be a compromised, healthy cell. It's like it's almost playing with it. Here, we begin to see what a white corpuscle does in attacking another life form called bacteria. Do you think that this bacteria is not running away from its enemy? Now, the white corpuscle is of a rank universally within the galactic structure that this is all this life form does. Now, tell me, how is this not intelligence, sentient intelligence? We've just been told that it looks differently. Now, I want you to look at these. These are cancer cells. Look at the life forms. I'm going to circle it for you. Do you see the faces? Some of these look like they're in absolute torment. Is this life? Is there communication taking place? Is there emotion being experienced? If a cell dies, does it not experience death? How do you experience death if it isn't transmitted by your cell? Look at these creatures. Look at the different ones. They're unique within themselves, are they not? Look at this. This is a community, by the way. Complex community. It has laws. It has structure. It has purpose. It has design. How is this not intelligent life? Now look at here. You have a T cells. These are the ones that you all want. If you ever have cancer, this is what they measure. But now you can see, I want you to watch the cancer cell. Look what happens here. Did you see it? There is spiritual energy coming out of this. That cell is, look at it. Now look at the T cells. They're using the life force energy of the cancer cell, and look how they're mutating that energy. They're feeding off of it. And the T cell is experiencing death. Apparently a very painful death. Look at this. You're telling me that this is not intelligent life? I'm talking on a spiritual level here. You can't have an angel or a demon unless this is happening. The question I'm asking, is this then not the highest of all intelligences? How would you measure intelligence without this? You can't. Look what happens here. Do you see it? You're seeing actual transmutation of energy in real time, in a spiritual dimension that exists within each and every one of us. Look at the miracle. Is this not God? We convert that which is saturated with bacterium, viruses of all kinds. Now look what happens when there is a hostile takeover. You have a healthy cell here. This is bacterium. Do you think the cell being taken over is experiencing pain, fear, cognition of thought, knowing that it's about to be taken over by the Borg? And maybe the cell it had just split off of, what you see here, they were coexisting in a natural harmonic peace, a perfect balance. And then this happens. Sentient life forms. This is the one that's causing the world collapse right now. It mutates, it changes. It seeks to only survive. How is that different than humans? Now look at this cancer cell as it's being consumed. Do you see the fiery essence of its? Look at this. There is something going on here on a level that we've never contemplated on a spiritual, ethereal level. It's taking place within us. And those of us, those of that are battling cancer and other forms of diseases, this is what's happening. And look at the ether essence of the cell. If you could but exist, and you do, to go down to witness this, this is a galaxy being decimated. Look at that. I can sit here and watch this for endless times over. There is spirituality on a level that we just can't even perceive. To harness that energy is what this is all about. And look what happens in the different universes that are within all of us. And it only takes one of these intake areas where the mutations begin, the transmutation. You can say it's an actual potential mutation of consciousness. Because if you have a virus that ends up killing you, you're going to go through the battle. But this is in every one of us. Now, what's so interesting about this here, look how cells work in hives. You can't work in a hive collective consciousness unless there is communication of conscious thought taking place. This is a battle. This is an organized attack, coordinated and having to have the perfect timing of all the other platelets you can see in here attacking, separating the victim. Isn't this what we do? And when we talk about alien life forms, forget ET. This is what we should have been focused in on. Look what happens. So an invading force would never be seen. They don't have to have ships. They don't have to have weapons. They'll do it to each and every individual, changing it. And it moves on to its next victim. Look at this. The cell is now dying. Was that its spirit, its essence being released? Watch it again. Boom. And you can see where the core of where it died from. How is this any different than what we see in the world today? How is this spiritual essence any different than when we depart or when we're fed upon to the point of death? Now look at this life form. The complexity of what's taking place in it. It's feeding off something that's even smaller than itself. These are single cell plankton, not plankton, excuse me. Yeah, I guess it could be, I guess. But if you look at these life forms, now this is a cell, a human cell. Look at it. Stop and just focus, folks, in on the complexity of this sphere. Look around it, and you can see complexity of thought. If there's not thought being taken place here, then what are you saying? That this is just some automaton? No. On the outer casing of the protein layer, there's defenses going on. It's feeding. It's changing on the inside. Look at all the different circulatory systems as you begin to walk through it. Oh, folks. And my question is, why eyes? No matter how small we get, we notice these beings. Now, some would say, well, there's no intelligence here. I beg to differ with you. Why does it need eyes? Is this not alive? Is it not actually exhibiting all the characteristics of life? And just because we say we can't understand it, we say, well, it's not sentient life. I bet you it would have begged to differ with you, because it would tell you that if it didn't exist, you don't exist. Now, I ask, if there was an intelligent species that didn't exist, I mean, again, how tall is intelligence? How big does it take for you to accept a being is what? They have to be bipedal? Is that what you're saying? Your spirit is not a bipedal spirit. It is this. Yeah. Do you see the face of God? If this is not God, then tell me, how do you define God? You define God because it's something big? Is that how you define God? All of you who think God is an actual being, an actual personification, what? Do you think that it's exempt from having this God in it? It can't exist if this doesn't. Our tree of life. Without those, this doesn't exist. Hard to believe that this would be the actual face of God, huh? By the way, it's neither male nor female, it's both. It's the perfect design. Okay. I'm sure that I hope you enjoyed that. It I think just brings out to the point. I mean, think about this, the complexity of this species, these species. I contend that we've never examined it on from the point of view that they're sentient life forms, that is God in every description. I mean, explain to me then, how does living matter not exist? And you know, and I'm sure people are saying, but Wayne, the spirit doesn't have viruses. How do you know that? How do you know that? Show me where you read that. I got a sense that there's going to be a lot of us who are going to be very much surprised about the other side. Again, our arrogance is that, well, if it's not spiritual and doesn't look like us, you know, it can't be us. You know, it's only us and nothing else. No, the only reason why these bodies exist is because of that God. And I use God as a pluralistic term, like the Elohim. And they can communicate across the galaxy. So how was that today, huh? So this gets, it has so many direct implications. No one knows what happens if a sentient life form on that level decides within a body, let's say, go rogue, and they take over that body, take over its personality, take over its demeanor. Maybe that's what they define as demonic possession. You see, the thing is that we try to separate a virus from a spirit. And I say, no, if there's truly the bridge, it would be a virus. It would be that neuron, that ability of a life form to take over the host on such a minute level. That's God. You don't need some big old clapping white dude on a throne and some crazy cat walking across the sky riding a horse. No. And the thing that's really interesting, if you look in your Bibles, your Quran, your Vedic, all the other books, when these gods send the plague, what the freak do you think the plague is? It's them. It's them. They can exist outside of us. We can breathe them out. Complex life forms. So advanced they can take over a species, and the species would never be the wiser of it. We're going to get into the book, the God virus, and see there have been other people who have saw this, who've seen it. Probably like I saw it. I mean, when it finally, the epiphany hit me, it just exploded in my brain. I mean, it's one of those that kind of take your breath away, because I suddenly realized I'm virtually powerless in defending myself against this life form. I mean, yeah. It's people are saying, nano silver. Listen, isn't it odd how everything is on this? The smallest rules the largest. Why do we have such a problem with this? It began to make me begin to think, well, what if there was a race of man, a genus of man, maybe maybe the Neanderthals, maybe the Atlanteans, Lumerians, who discovered the same thing. Instead of going out to the stars, they went inward in the universe. In other words, they began to recognize that this was, in fact, a sentient life form. And what if a group of human beings ascended high enough that when they traversed in the universe within, formed a covenant, an agreement with what we perceive to be as gods? And what if that began to open the portals into the universes that we think are gargantuan, when exactly it's the different? It goes into the quantum. It's just a thought. I mean, seriously, I'm just sitting here in a mic and a camera just talking, you know. But it begins because here's the point. So is a spirit a single component? Is a spirit of a singularity, of singleness, of essence? Are you telling me that a spirit is like a one-cell amoeba? And don't go all metaphysical on me. Let's just keep this down on the ground here. So how is a spirit composed? What is it composed of? Is it composed of many parts? I don't know. I've seen spirits. I know that from a scientific point of view, that I'm seeing photons. I'm seeing the ability of kinetic energy to be transmuted into photons in order for it to show even a presence of shadow otherwise in this realm. So I know that photons are not a single photon. It's going to take trillions of photons for a spirit apparition to actually appear. Okay, so is the spirit then of the essence of all the photons? Does it inhabit those photons into form and function? Suzanne, it's an interesting thing, and what we know in particles, that if you have a particle and the identical particle, it can be on the other side of the universe and they can still talk. It's very interesting when we talk about how they split. So these are the things that I question now, because I have to recognize that that is life. Viruses, bacterium. Listen, I know what viruses do to you. They kick your ass. You have Lyme disease and you know it. And I know what bacterium will do to you. I had bacterium meningitis. It put me in a freaking coma for almost 9 days. I was paralyzed on one side of my body. I had to learn almost how to talk again. I know what viruses can do, acutely aware of what they do. And I know the hell that I went through to get to kill the damn thing. And when the tick bit me, actually it was multiple ticks at the same time, they injected a spirochete into me, which settled into my spinal cord. I know what that'll do to you. That is a life form seeking for its own survival off of me. I do the same thing when I walk on the earth every day. I seek to consume something to convert it to my DNA. Okay. I hope this was a delightful discussion. We're going to pick up more on it because could be that there could be some answers for all of us here. I mean, think about this. You go into meditation, you're thinking to yourself, right? You're generating thought, even telepathically. But if I'm a life form, I can literally reside on your neuron. What if I had the ability then to communicate your thought before you even had the chance to process it? You would be in a game of checkmate consistently, wouldn't you? Because they'd always know your move. Okay. We'll just end on a real positive note. It's like, oh crap. Well, thanks, Kirk Plain. Well, thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Well, I got to tell you, I had a lot of time to think. Literally, there was 6 months where I was bedridden. You have a lot of time to think. I mean, really think, you know? I got so good in the hospital. It was at Fort Sanders Park West in Knoxville, Tennessee. I got so good that to where I could count all the little squigglies in the acoustic ceiling tiles. I mean, you know, when you're and you know, and I couldn't read because I was temporarily blind in one eye. And yeah, you get a lot of time to think about it, a whole lot of time. All right, folks. Thank you, thank you all, and appreciate it. Y'all are the best. Thank you for being part of the journey. Love to get your feedback on this, and because I think this is a subject that really gets into the real heart of the matter. And I think we're going to have a lot of exploratory adventures with this now in the back of every philosophy, every ideology, we think of. So anyway, all right, you groovy poopy people. Anyway, before I embarrass myself on that one, y'all be the best. Thank you, Susie Q. Thank you, Ja. Appreciate it. Rod and all the moderators, Debbie Bell. Thank you, Claudette. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. Love yourself. Maybe that's when the viruses move. I don't know. I've really got something. I have to get Miss Trina on this one as well. All right. Peace out. See y'all later. Bye-bye. BOSTO.